Good evening, Pastor Johnson.
Good evening. Good evening, Governor.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening. It brings me great joy to introduce the governor on this evening to this wonderful service in which we will celebrate Monday, Thursday, and the law of love by bringing before you, before the service begins, the leader in law of our state, who was elected in 2018 to bring about a more progressive and loving administration into Lansing. We thank God for Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who has been from the very beginning a voice crying out in the wilderness that there is a better way. I remember when she was running and she met with a small group of preachers at Second Ebenezer in the library. And it was there that I first saw the sincerity in her heart. She loves Michigan. She loves truth, justice, faith, hope, and love. So without further ado, I apologize for my tardiness. I was actually on the call at 6:30, but ran into technical difficulties right at 7 o'clock. So perfect timing, like only Zoom can do. I was dropped out of the meeting. But without further ado, let me welcome everyone to this wonderful joint worship celebration between Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church and Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. Receive our governor at this time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor. I am so grateful to be here with you, Pastor Adams and Pastor Johnson and Hartford Memorial and Tabernacle Missionary. This is an honor for me to be joining you on this important day in the middle of most holy of weeks. And it is good for my soul to be here and to spend a little bit of time with you. This has been a challenging year that we've just kind of come through. And yet, even on the hardest days of this last year, and there have been some difficult ones, never would have fathomed that I would have to battle white supremacists with semi-automatic rifles on my front lawn. And yet, even on the hardest days, I feel really lucky to be governor of Michigan and in a position where I can take actions to protect people's lives and take actions to protect our right to vote, all of which are really important things that we have done and will continue to do as we get our state through this tough time. I thank you for your prayers and your encouragement, and I want you to know that you are in mine as well. And just awfully glad to be with you and so grateful for your leadership. We know in times of crisis, our faith is more important than ever. And yet with this virus and the loss of so many loved ones and family members, our inability to come together in the traditional way has made it very difficult. But you've utilized Zoom even when it doesn't always, when it might throw you off right at 7 o'clock. You've been able to utilize Zoom to connect and to support one another. And I'm so grateful. We've seen some of the toughest things this last year. We've seen some of the most inspirational, and the way that you have supported one another inspires me, and I'm glad to be with you.
Governor Whitmer, we know that you charged Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist with the task force to investigate the disparities of the impact of COVID-19 on minorities and people with pre-existing conditions. Could you, and you know, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, his mother is a member of Tabernacle on the ministerial team there, and he himself is a member. So it is wonderful that we're having this celebration, and I just wanted to lift that up. Is there any report from the task force? Our members would be interested to know. Somebody asked me that question. I said, if the governor allows, I will ask her tonight.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you did. One of the things that I think was really important is we've put an incredible team together. And I have not had a lot of time to reflect in the last year, but when I have, one of the things for which I'm most grateful is that I've got a phenomenal partner like Garland Gilchrist as our Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Janae Caldoun, our Chief Medical Executive. I don't know how I would have gotten through this last year without